Hey guys, how's it going? Carl here from 100 for 100, where we bring you focused commander decks for $100 or less. Today we're looking at Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. It's 1 blue-black for a legendary creature, human ninja. It's a 1/3 and it has Commander Ninjutsu, where you can pay a blue and a black to return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand, and put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or your command zone, tapped and attacking. She also says whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. With this deck, we're going to focus on abusing her trigger to cause a maximum loss of life. First, let's break this deck into a couple of categories. We have ninjas here. Higure the Still Wind, Mistblade Shinobi, Ninja of the Deep Hours, Okiba Gang Shinobi, Silent Blade Oni, Skull Snatcher, Throat Slitter, and Walker of the Secret Ways. We're going to further break this down into a couple categories: ninjas that give us value, and ninjas that disrupt our opponent's game plan. First up in the value category of ninjas, we have Higure the Still Wind. 3 blue for a 3/4 ninja. Of course, we won't be paying 3 blue. Hopefully we'll be using his ninjutsu cost for 2 blue, return an unblocked attacker we control to our hand, put this card onto the battlefield from our hand, tapped and attacking. He reads, whenever Higure the Steel Wind deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a ninja card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. He also has an activated ability to target ninja creature is unblockable this turn. So he's really great at searching up the perfect ninja for the situation we're in, and paying 2 mana to ensure that our ninjas go through if you want to chain these ninjutsu triggers. Next up we have Ninja of the Deep Hours and Silent Blade Oni. Ninja of the Deep Hours is 3 and a blue for a 2/2 human ninja, but like we said, we're not going to pay that. We're going to pay its ninjutsu cost for only 1 and a blue. Whenever Ninja of the Deep Hours deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Just good for not only triggering Yuriko to draw us a card, when it deals combat damage, we'll draw a card as well, so good value out of this little ninja. Silent Blade Oni is 3 double blue, double black for a 6/5. Ninjutsu is 4 a blue and a black. Whenever Silent Blade Oni deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. You may cast a non-land card in it without paying that card's mana cost. So this is real good about getting cards out of your opponent's hand and getting value itself. Not necessarily drawing a card, but it's good value. We have Walker of the Secret Ways, 2 and a blue for a 1/2. Ninjutsu only 1 and a blue. Whenever Walker of Secret Ways deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. So it gives us good information. Maybe we want to commit to the board, but we don't know what the blue player's playing, or somebody's playing white. They might be having Rads or Cyclonic Rift. We can get this guy in to see and check out, scout ahead to make sure we can make our plays. Also has the activated ability 1 in a blue, return target ninja you control to its owner's hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. So if we really want to abuse those ninjutsu triggers, really get those sneak attacks going in, we can use this to bounce our creatures to our hands, or if we want to save other creatures from spot removal or board wipes, this is how we're going to do that. Moving on to the disruption category, we have Mistblade Shinobi. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/1 ninjutsu for only 1 blue. Whenever Mistblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. Get rid of a problematic creature. Good stuff. Okiba Gang Shinobi. 3 black for a 3/2. Ninjutsu only 3 and a black. Whenever Okiba Gang Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, that player discards 2 cards. Great hand disruption. Throat Slitter, 4 and a black for a 2/2. Ninjutsu only 2 and a black. Whenever Throat Slitter deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. Skull Snatcher, only 1 and a black for a 2/1. Ninjutsu only 1 black. So this is a card that we could probably just end up casting, if the need be. Whenever Skull Snatcher deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 2 target cards from that player's graveyard. Great disruption in these ninjas here. So in order for our ninjas to activate their ninjutsu trigger, we need combat. We need creatures to get into combat and not be blocked. This is where we have our support team. These creatures are either going to be unblockable or very difficult to block. Looking at the unblockable category, we have Slitherblade, Mistcloaked Herald, Gudul Lurker, Triton Shorestalker, Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive, Tormented Soul, and Dimir Infiltrator. All cheap, all unblockable. To back those up, we have a host of evasive creatures, either with flying or fear, or some sort of something that says they can't just be blocked by any old creature. Some of these creatures I want to take a closer look at, though, are gonna be our owls. Augury Owl, Spire Owl, and Sage Owl all enter the battlefield and have a relatively similar ability. Augury Owl says enters the battlefield scry 3. Spire Owl says enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in any order. And Sage Owl says look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in any order also. This is a great introduction to the next category of cards we want to look to. But before we go on, I did want to go back and take a look at Inkfathom Witch. It's one of those evasive creatures that has an activated ability, 2 blue-black, each unblocked creature becomes 4/1 until end of turn. This is a great way to just get that little last chunk of damage in on a player, if need be. Our next category is top deck manipulation. Each of these cards allow us to sort of stack the top of our deck in different ways. Some cards allow us to look at an X number of cards from the top of our library and rearrange them. Some take cards from our hand and put them onto the library. Others grab a card from our deck and put it straight on top. And those are the couple of cards I want to take a look at real quick. Mystical Tutor and Limdol's Vault are each instant speed cards that allow us to essentially find one specific card and make sure that's on top of our library. This is important because Yuriko's trigger causes loss of life based on the CMC of a card. So if we get some ninja triggers in, and with Yuriko's trigger on the stack, we can Mystical Tutor or Limdol's Vault and make sure we get cards like split cards on the top of our library. Now, an interesting thing to know about split cards is as long as they're a card, not on the stack or on the battlefield, they share a converted mana cost. So Spite to Malice, Spite having 3 and a blue, Malice being 3 and a black, each converted mana cost 4. As long as it's a card, it has a total converted mana cost of 8. So, if we Mystical Tutored for this card at the top of our library in response to Yuriko's trigger, each opponent would lose 8 life. This is really good. Just not even counting that we're drawing the cards and have the abilities on those cards. Some more cards I want to take a look at aren't necessarily split cards, but they are high CMC cards. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. Each very high CMC can cause lots of life, but the good thing about these is we're not going to be casting these for, 8 and 8 mana. We're going to use their delve abilities to make them really cheap and get great value. One more card I wanted to mention, since we're doing all this top deck manipulation, is Devastation Tide. Yes, it's 5 CMC and can cause a chunk of life, but we could also just miracle it and get all those pesky blockers out of the way for our ninja triggers. Good stuff. Now, all of this sounds really great, but we need to have ninjas on the battlefield, and there just aren't that many good ninjas to play in this deck. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to our next category, which is the Ninja Academy. Cards like Arcane Adaptation and Xenograph are going to turn all of our creatures into ninjas. That means all those unblockable and evasive creatures we showed you earlier, yeah, they're going to be ninjas and they're going to trigger off Yuriko too. We've got some cards like Familiar's Ruse and Perplex to protect our board state and stop any, random combos coming into play. Familiar's Ruse also has the added benefit of returning a creature we control to our owner's hand. Perplex has the added ability to transmute for cards like Arcane Adaptation. Razaketh's Right is a good high CMC card to draw off a Yuriko trigger, and it searches up for any card we may need in any specific instance. Karn's Temporal Sundering, a take extra turn effect with a high CMC that can get rid of a problematic permanent, also allowing us to attack one more time and getting more Yuriko triggers. Twilight Prophet is another version of Yuriko's trigger. 2 black for a 2/4 flyer, and Ascend if you control the city's blessing, or you control the city's blessing if you have 10 or more permanents. And she reads at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the city's blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's converted mana cost. So, another version of Yuriko's trigger. To round off the deck here at the end, we've got an assortment of mana rocks, nothing special, you've seen these all before. Some lands here to take note of: Creeping Tar Pit, Fairy Conclave, Blinkmoth Nexus, and Rogue's Passage. These are either man lands or, in Rogue's Passage's case, lands that allow our creatures to become unblockable. Just more ways to get those ninjutsu triggers out. And if we have Arcane Adaptation or Xenograph, more ninja triggers. Evolving Wild, Terramorphic Expanse, and Warped Landscape help us with our color fixing. Command Tower, Dimir Aqueduct, Dismal Blackwater, Jwaral Refuge, and Submerged Boneyard, dual lands for color fixing. A card that I don't see played much, or nearly as often as it should, is Isolated Watchtower. Taps to add a colorless, but it has the activated ability of 2 tap it, scry 1, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If a basic land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Activate this ability only if opponent controls at least 2 more lands than you. A very good ability in cards and decks that don't play green to be able to ramp onto the battlefield. Halimar Depths is a land that comes into play taps for blue, and allows us to rearrange the top 3 cards of our library. Good for stacking Yuriko triggers. Finishing off the deck with 13 islands and 9 swamps. So this has been Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. If you want to pick up the deck, we're going to leave a deck list down below to MTG Goldfish. Currently it's selling for about $100 and some change on Card Kingdom. If you pick up the deck and play with it, let us know how it goes for you. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit the like button. If you have any questions or maybe there's something that we missed, go down and comment below. Until next time, this is Carl from 100 for 100 signing off.